in 30 years. The other thing is that there's no longer 9 reinsurers fighting for 0.4%. Okay. I grew up in an era through the 70s into the 80s when every facultative case, every problem case that came to my desk and all the desks of all the reinsurance underwriters around, we fought to win it. And yes, we experimented. And yes, we did things to make sure we got a higher placement rate, that we won most of them. I instituted the old M&G, and it wasn't the reason they went bankrupt. In fact, the block of business that I did this on actually proved to have no different mortality than the block of business that was normally underwritten. Every Friday became Good Friday. Every Friday, I told the underwriters, you don't change. You are as aggressive as you can be. I secretly told our message sender, who sent all the messages to companies telling them what our rating was, I told her to knock 2 tables. 50 mortality points off every quote. Okay? Because really, scientific reasons said you should do this. The scientific reason was I could win more business. And we did. The placement ratio, instead of being around typical, a reinsurer wins 1 out of 5 cases. We were winning 6 and 7 out of 10. We were winning about 70% instead of about 20%. And the mortality was no different than that underwriting that had exactly what a good aggressive reinsurer wanted. So, and I tell that to underwriters because I try to get them to sort of get real. Underwriting is not that precise. But unfortunately, our education system today and the way we train is that precise. We teach them so much they think that if you look up a diabetic at 42, it is plus 50. We win some, we lose some. We lose those that the plus 50 really should have been a standard or a plus 25. We've even got rid of some of the early rating. We used to use ratings of plus 25 on older people. And that would help place a lot of cases. Now we round up to plus 50. We even used to use plus 37. These are things we don't use because I'm told by underwriting people that you people don't want that. You don't want to shave a half a table, and yet I don't understand why. In the US, things are a little bit different. They did get high. As you notice back here, they were around the 60% basically of their business was being reinsured. Not the 75% that we had in Canada. But look what's happened. After that peak, it's down to 35%. And there's a lot of reasons for that. First reason is a lot of significant companies are now retaining more. If you retain more, here's what happens. If an underwriter phones a reinsurance underwriter and says, I'm keeping $1 million on this life. I know you would normally want plus 50 on this rating, but we're willing to take it standard and we're willing to take $1 million. Will you match our $1 million? And the answer is yes. Because I have never had one of those cases go south on me. They've always turned out well. If a company puts its money where its mouth is, I will follow. But if you take the example of where we have companies reinsuring 75%, if a company phones me and says, I'm keeping 100,000, I'm keeping 200,000, will you take $1 million? No. Again, yet they still have a retention of $5 million, but they won't adjust it. I think that has to change. And that's what's happened in the United States. We've had companies keeping larger amounts, plus using that larger amount as leverage to get the reinsurers to do what they want. The other thing that you're not seeing in Canada yet, and hopefully it's going to come here, is in the United States now there are 14 significant companies whose underwriting is more aggressive than reinsurers. Because they've said it's time to get back to when underwriting was a lot of art, not just science. There are times and there are producers and there are plans where you can be more aggressive. So you can see what's happened. Hopefully that will happen in Canada. And I say that as a reinsurer. I know reinsurers don't like to hear it, but I say it as a reinsurer. We have to get the balance back. There's the top 5 reinsurers in the United States. Again, the top 5 in the US control 77%. So very similar to Canada, but they have more players down there. Scottish Re will disappear off there. Are reinsurers nice people? I always like to be loved, so I buy nice bottles of wine, I take them to nice restaurants, and because I like to be loved as a reinsurer. And we used to be basically how many people loved us or really liked the reinsurer, and this was a survey of basically top pricing actuary, top underwriting, chief underwriter, and presidents. It was as high as 60%, and then we did those audits, and it fell to 15%. So all of a sudden we're not liked. No matter how many bottles of wine, no matter how many golf tournaments, no matter how many pairs of golf shoes or new putters I bought, I still couldn't get it up. But we've inched our way back up. We're back to 36%. And that amazes me because we're still fairly tough. I think the reasons are we've lowered the bar. The expectations of the industry of reinsurers now has been lowered. We're not pushed as much. We're not asked to experiment as much. Reinsurers are back helping insurers, and that's true to a degree. You have one Canadian reinsurer who is now spending its money on training a new breed of hopefully aggressive underwriters, and that's good to see. Okay, tough is a new happy place. I think most underwriting leadership has agreed that you've got to be tougher, there has to be better standards, and some of that was needed, and I think we're drifting back from this edge of being stupid in our rules back to a happy place. Standards are all we're worried about, and that's true. In Canada, there really are no longer 9 reinsurers aggressively looking for all your problem cases to find the best and lowest price. There's really only one and a half. So if you're the only company that really wants substandard business and to be aggressive, you will quietly lower even your own standard because you don't have to be that aggressive anymore. There isn't the pressure. And all above, and they all are apply. We also have a new group of underwriters who basically are different. They're like my kids, they're the Y generation. There used to be only plumbers we saw like this, and now it's like, it's pretty well everybody. This new generation, they want to learn, but they don't have a lot of common sense. I don't know how many of you have kids in that 20 to 30 range, but common sense wasn't taught, and I guess we didn't pass it on. They want instant satisfaction, and that's like an underwriter. I want to do my job, I want to make my decisions, I want to get rid of them fast. I want to move on.